Leopard! It's Shadow. Is it?
Yes.
I think it is. Unfortunately, she's on Hoffman, so we can't go in there. I think she's hunting. What is she hunting for? Oh man, we were just slightly too late. Let me go back a bit. Maybe we'll get another view. I'm not sure what Jamie's taking you to see. Oh, she's gone. There she goes. Isn't that lovely? Just enjoy, everybody. That's Karula's daughter, 9 years old. She's got a little cub around here somewhere. Well, that was marvellous. We're not allowed to go in there, unfortunately. Oh well, we're going to continue round towards Arathusa. We had her tracks and the cub's tracks going up and down here this morning, so I'm sure the cub is in there somewhere. Anyway, on we go. All I heard from behind me was, there's a leopard on the road, so I thought he was joking. I thought VM was, but he wasn't. There was a leopard on the road. Could you find another one? Thanks. The chances of that happening, I mean, they're just so remote. To come along here at the right time, if we had not met Sean and not met the chap from Elephant Plains, perhaps the timing would have been different and we wouldn't have seen her. Anyway, we'll wait and see what Jamie's surprise is. I'm rather intrigued myself. We're going to go on to Arathusa and see what we can see. And Jamie won't even tell Kirsten, so it's a great mystery. I'm going to... What do you think it is, Liam?
What?
I didn't think I'd missed anything on the radio. Oh, that's a nice thing to see too. Let me get off the road here. Not sure what this is. I think it's a staff transport car. Oh, the wind is blowing. NH Native, you want to know if I've ever been involved in wildlife projects and research around here. I have in some small projects. I've been far more involved in research with local people and how they relate to these national parks. But I've done a few research projects on wildlife here. And I mean, in terms of big research projects, we're all part of something that Panthera does. They're an NGO that looks after leopards and lions and other big cats, and we contribute to their research by explaining where sightings are, and we collect for them and all sorts of different samples. So in that way we are involved. The Sabi Sand, not a hotbed of research at the moment, but the Kruger area, or the Kruger, an entire scientific services division, and they do a huge amount of research into the wildlife of these areas. We're just coming to the southern end of Arathusa now, and we'll turn then to the west. With any luck, we'll find another leopard.
I think I'm going to cross into...
Well, there we go. Surprise! Slightly sooner than expected because James lost his signal, but luckily our timing was perfect, and apparently Saturday is indeed Cataday today. I just cringed a little bit as I said that. Oh my goodness. But isn't this a lovely surprise? I wonder how long these ladies have been here. There's actually 2 lionesses here. There's the female that's feeding off the buffalo, and then there's one lying with one very full belly. Now, I'm a little bit embarrassed to tell you, they are right next to a road, right next to Impala Road. I don't think James and myself have driven this road today, so at least we're excused. We didn't miss them. We just had absolutely no idea they were here. My initial guess is that we're looking at the Nkuhuma females. I would say that's almost 100% likely, but you never know. Lion territories are fluid, so despite the fact that we're right smack bang in the sort of home range of the Nkuhumas, might be other lionesses. We'll just have to wait for a moment and see. They've done well. Just 2 lionesses managed to bring down a relatively large sub-adult buffalo. And there is plenty of meat left still. Actually, almost looks like an adult female, just a young adult female. So some interesting things happening while I was on leave with the Nkuhumas. They seem to have, James described it as exploded. I'm not quite sure I would go that far, but they do seem to be incredibly scattered. And that was on its way to happening when I went on leave, with the one denning in Torchwood, the other looking incredibly pregnant, and we thought denning around Mvubu Road, Gauri Cut Line on Djuma. We've got 2 out of 5 for now, I think. We'll just have to wait for a little bit to confirm if it is them. And obviously they've taken advantage of the incredible wind that's been blowing over the last 24 hours. This is lion and leopard heaven weather. We might not enjoy it as human beings. Maybe we don't enjoy it because there's an instinct within us that tells us that this is good predator weather. Unfortunately for this poor buffalo, it has not done it any favours. I have to tell you, we're not very far from where we saw that baby buffalo yesterday morning on the sunrise safari. So when I heard that they had a buffalo kill, I approached with a considerable degree of trepidation. I was utterly terrified it was going to be the female buffalo that we watched struggle yesterday before she managed to get up and move her newborn calf. But it's not her. It's definitely not her. Which is a very human thing for me to say. I shouldn't really say that. You can't judge one buffalo more valuable than the other. But we did become emotionally, all of us, from Brian and myself, the ladies in final control, and of course all of you watching, we did become quite emotionally involved in that story. That doesn't look like amber eyes. Cheers guys, thanks very much. Just saying thank you to Warren, who provided us with this extraordinary sighting. What a lovely surprise. This day has just been full of surprises. Oops, somebody found a stump on their way out. There's a distinct crunching sound that was definitely not lion nibbling on buffalo. There we go. 2 cats have had, well, actually more than that. 5 cats, if we count Karula and her 2 cubs, plus the 2 lionesses, have definitely had a good Saturday. Find themselves with a delicious meal. Oh, and Shadow. Well, we've done well today. We've had Tundi, a male lion, Karula and cubs again, Shadow, and the 2 Nkuhuma lionesses. What a wonderful day to be out in the bush. Definitely worth braving the cold for. And she's definitely making short work of the buffalo's hip joint. Okay, well, that movement of the other vehicle gives us a chance to reposition and get a view of the other lioness. Oh, goodness. It is so windy. And I can probably stop cupping the microphone now because it's just us. But I'm going to keep it here anyway because it's so windy. Donna, you were wondering if the new cubs have been seen yet? No, they haven't. It's just the Nkuhuma cubs that were born on Torchwood have been seen. They must be of the age very soon where we will start to see them moving out and about, which is so exciting because lion cubs are amazing. Dave, have you seen lion cubs?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
So Dave's got something very exciting to look forward to. It'll be the first time he's filmed lion cubs while he's been at Wild Earth. Yep. Oh, no, hold on. We're not going to reposition. Whoopsie. Hello. We've got Henry arriving. Now, I just want to show him the best way to go into the sighting, so just bear with me for 1 second. Hi, guys. How are you? Good, thanks. I think your best approach might be to actually go back onto power lines. Warren had a good position from in there. So if you come through this way with your nose in this way, it might be a little bit easier. Because our view is not fantastic, but I think you'll get a good one from that side. Cool. There we go. All done. Just helping one of the other vehicles come through. A couple of months ago, we were treated to the most extraordinary exhibition of the Nkuhuma Pride's hunting ability, and that was when we went out after drive with just Nikki, Kirsty and myself. We ended up being treated to an incredible but quite heart-wrenching sighting where the lionesses caught a calf and proceeded to eat it while it was still alive. It's very difficult to watch when something like that happens. Virginia, you were wondering, do they always eat their prey alive, or will they kill it first? Interestingly, it seems to depend on the size of the animal that they have killed. So if it's something small, it's not strong enough to throw the lionesses off or for them to risk being injured. Whoopsie, where'd he go? Oh, he went through that way. Okay, fair enough. It wasn't quite what I meant in terms of my directing, but that's okay. Whoopsie. Oh dear. He's not going to be terribly happy when he realizes that he can't get in that side. Oh well. Oh dear, I thought he would see the tire tracks. Anyway, Virginia, if it's a larger animal like a big buffalo bull, the lions have to kill it first, because if they don't, they run the risk of it struggling free and then actually injuring them, kicking them in some way or thrashing them with their horns. Sorry, Henry, how's your view there? Well, another conversation happening. It's something very difficult to watch. It's important to remember that the animals don't live by our code of morality. It's survival of the fittest. So the lions will only really go about killing them. And it's usually, unfortunately, quite a slow death, because it's death by strangulation, almost inevitably, which often in a way takes longer than being eaten alive. It's a very brutal reality. But you can't love nature without taking the good with the bad. And somewhere one of these lionesses, or two of these lionesses, have little babies to feed. And most likely, those that haven't had cubs yet are probably pregnant at this point. They've all been mating with the Birmingham boys, one stage or another. And they will all be pregnant. Up we get. Enough of that for now. It's the Nkuhuma female. Look at that belly. Dave, can we zoom in on her belly quickly, please? Let's have a look at that nipple at the back. This is the lioness that looks so incredibly pregnant. Okay, not suckle marks just yet, or is that a suckle mark? You see the ring around the nipple? It doesn't look... I'm not sure, I'm not 100%. Wow, well done, Dave, thank you. Close examination. I don't think so. I don't think so yet. And look at the bulge that's around. Oh, thanks, girl. She got shy. I don't think she's had her cubs yet, but this lioness is also pregnant. That bulge at the back of her belly. Now, Brock, the lionesses, or the lions, are actually having an easier time than they do during summer. So Brock wanted to know whether or not it is harder or easier, or harder for a lioness, or lions, sorry, try that whole sentence again. Brock would like to know if it's harder for the lions to hunt in winter because there's less cover. And the answer is no, although I can definitely see what you mean by that, because of course there's less vegetation for them to hide behind. But the truth is, winter is, especially in a drought, is the time of the predators, because it's our dry season, which means all of the general game, their prey species, are concentrated around whatever water there is left. Something like a water-dependent animal like a Cape buffalo has to keep moving towards water, and essentially the lions just have to patrol the regular pathways, because the animals don't have any choice but to go and drink at the dams. So no, winter is actually an easier time for the lions to hunt. And she's making sure that she's got all of the parts of the most nutritious part of the buffalo, which is of course its internal organs, rasping away with an incredibly rough tongue. It's actually capable of stripping the meat away from the bone. MJ's asked the question that I think we're all thinking about. How long do we think they've been feeding on this buffalo carcass? MJ? Actually, you know, now that we're looking at it, they've eaten the organs, which they always do first, and they've eaten just a little bit of the rump. I would say maybe not more than a couple of hours. I even would go so far as to guess that they were not here this morning, just because of the amount that they have consumed. But I could be wrong. They might even have been here on the Sunrise Drive, right next to the road. And it's just one of those things. If you don't drive down the right road sometimes, you miss whatever's on it, which is inevitable. I wonder if these girls were responsible for some of the noise we heard last night. Those of you who were watching the Djuma Dam camera must have heard the lion roars. We know at least one of them was a male, that male that was around Twin Dams with James. And he might also have been joined by the females. She's having a fantastic meal. Deborah, our armchair traveller, as we watch our pregnant Nkuhuma feeding away. Deborah's asked this morning about leopard gestation period, and she apologised for asking that. And now she's asked about lions and has apologised again. Deborah, please don't apologise. It hasn't been discussed, and it's a very nice comparison point. So a lion gestation period is very, very similar to that of a leopard. It's just ever so slightly longer, but I'm talking only by a few days. So a lion gestation period, again, between 90 to 100 days, up to 105 days, depending upon the individual concerned. I can't believe this female, if it's the same one, is still pregnant. She's been looking distinctly uncomfortable for what feels like almost a month. But perhaps it's a different lioness. It's starting to get difficult to keep track of them. The pregnant lioness I saw is the young lioness with the 2 dots on her nose, at the bottom of her nose. So this might be a different lioness. She's a little bit covered in buffalo for me to be able to see and identify her. And the other lioness, thinking about getting up, but for the moment sleeping away, a very full stomach, hidden behind the trees. Sorry guys, I've just been listening to the Game Drive channel. And while we watch our lionesses with their newly-ish acquired meal, Tom and Jenny from Illinois, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You wanted to know how often lionesses like this will have a big feed. I'm just going to cut my microphone over here. The answer is they usually eat about once every 3 days, but that depends on what they catch. So if they catch something like a buffalo, if a male doesn't come along and steal most of this, they'll probably be here for another day or so, feeding on this carcass, possibly even another day and a half. And then they don't need to eat for another 3 days, right up to another 7 days before they might catch their next meal. So it's very variable in the lion world. There's only so many animals, only so many successful hunts that they can carry out in a period of time, but the rough average is around once every 3 days. Ooh, big stretch. I'm not sure if you could hear that there, but she gave a little bit of a groan. Ooh. Family dinners can be fraught with peril in the lion world. And this lioness is going to have to find a nice feeding spot or else risk being battered about by the other lioness. Even though they do have relatively full bellies, they're still, it's the initial, when the kill is initially made, that you'll find that lions fight the most over their kills. And it's the strongest eat first. There's no sort of tender caring for the cubs, letting them come in and have their full first. Yeah, it's the strongest lion for themselves. The cubs eat last. And if there's a male around, he will take as much as he wants. He usually won't let the lionesses eat until he has a very full belly. Depending on the size of the kill, of course. It's 8 years old. I'm really, really happy to be back as well, so thank you for that. It's nice to be a girl out on safari, and I'm also really excited about watching the lion cubs play, and I can't wait to show them to you. They are definitely some of the cutest animals that we get out here. So, not too long, Gracie. We're not going to have too long to wait before we get Nkuhuma cubs that we can watch playing about. And Gracie is, of course, a very special and one of our regular guests on safari. The one lioness hasn't quite got around to the feeding part. It's more a sort of resigned lying on the buffalo part. While she decides whether or not she's going to try and feed from here, let us find out what James is up to.
We've just turned off the road here, everybody. There were kudu going crazy. It's not far from where Shadow crossed. In fact, it's exactly where she crossed into Hoffman's over there. And I wonder if she hasn't come back, perhaps, because there's a kill here, because her cub's here. Maybe she's brought the cub back. They were looking around here, but we can't see anything. We didn't see anything. Oh well, what a stroke. I mean, we've had an incredible afternoon, really, especially given the weather. Just keep an eye on here. There were little ones looking this way, but the adults were all staring this way. I don't know. It's possible that they just saw her on the main road. The main road's not far from here. But they were looking right into here, and there's a nice termite mound there. But we went past that termite mound and we didn't see nothing. Yeah, well, this tends to be the way it goes. Unless you bump these things, they tend to be impossible to find. We'll just ease our way through here. Now, Deborah, quite apart from what you observe in the winter or the summer, Deborah, normally during the course, at least the winter, because the leaves are falling off the trees, and so the bush is that much less thick than it would be otherwise. We're just going to drive around quickly around here and see if we don't pick something up, and then we'll go back around that way. It's quite a large block. So as you can see, I mean, the bush is thinning because of the lack of water. And we saw shadow crossing. We saw shadow crossing about, maybe about 450 feet up the road here. Just wondering if she hasn't come back with her little baby. And maybe that's what those kudu were shouting at.
And the answer is fall asleep, cuddling the buffalo. Seems to be the approach that she has adopted. Face to face with the kill, she's decided that actually she can't really be bothered to try and open up the second part of the carcass, and really she'd rather just have a nap. I suppose fair enough. It does look a bit odd though, with that scene in front of us. The lions, I've heard from one of our viewers that lions actually rest their paws like that because it takes pressure off their full bellies, which I feel is an entirely valid possibility. That's why her paw is up on the end like that, up in the buffalo. Now what we're going to do, for those of you with queasy stomachs, just a fair warning, we're going to have a little bit of a closer look at the lioness's face, see if we can't figure out who she is. So those of you who don't like blood and gore, now would be the time to look away while we get a little bit closer in there, and just have a look if we can't see which lioness we're watching. It's really tricky to tell though, because she is quite thoroughly coated in bits of buffalo that she's been chewing on. Now Marianne, while we watch this lioness feed, it does give us an incredibly raw image that we're watching. We wanted to know if lions make a kill far from water, will they be able to obtain the moisture that they need from their kills, or will it make it worse? And I can completely see where you're coming from with that, in terms of the idea of it being quite a salty business, eating a buffalo, and therefore the moisture content might not get them what they need. They do, however, get a great deal of moisture from their kills, as do leopards, and they're very well equipped at dealing with it. The lions, when they can, they'll drink once a day, and they're relatively water dependent, but they are adapted to live in more arid, drier climates, so they don't have to necessarily drink every day. And a lot of the moisture that comes through from the blood is of a sort of a pH that's not going to cause them extra dehydration, or at least it's got a salt content that's not going to cause them extra dehydration. So they do get a little bit of moisture. That being said, they're quite happy to walk a large distance to go and have a drink. What they'll often do is kind of have one of them on standby to look after the carcass, and the rest will go and drink, and then they'll come back and the other will... Oh. Let's just listen, see if we get some growls. A very faint one from one of the lionesses. But yes, I'll kind of rotate. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to repeat actions from earlier and just help Andrew come in here. That was done purely by sign language there, which I think we achieved relatively well. I think we understood each other. We'll see. In a moment we should be hearing Andrew approaching from the opposite direction. Hopefully things don't go wrong this time round. Here's a wonderful piece of information for you. Aileen, who is one of our regular viewers, believe it or not, you've been thinking along very similar lines to Viam was this morning. So Aileen was wondering, do I think that a pregnant lioness eats less or can gorge herself less when she's very pregnant simply due to the economics of space? Sorry guys. Andrew, there's an entrance point a little bit just behind where you've come past that I think might get you the best view. Sorry guys, this sighting has caused something of confusion in terms of approaching it. So do I think a lioness eats less? Viam was actually asking that question in terms of, or in response to the sighting that we had with Tundi, who's also looking like she's going to drop cubs at any moment. It's sort of counterintuitive, isn't it? Because they need a lot more food. There's Andrew. They need a lot more food at that time of their life because they're sustaining not only themselves but also cubs. But you're right, I do think that they have less space to eat as much as they would like to. All of our predators, of course, have that fantastic ability to consume as much meat as possible. Good point, though. It is a very interesting question, and it's fascinating that it's been raised twice today with two different animals. Hello, Andrew. Guests enjoying a view of the lionesses. And she's actually giving us a nice view of her. Oh, here we go again. There's going to be some grumbling, but I don't think there's going to be any fighting between these two females. They've both got full enough bellies that it's not really worth the energy. She's just going to growl a little at her. She still wants to get to that bit of carcass. That's actually really where she wants to be, but she's going to content herself with the stomach cavity. She's showing such reticence to actually go about this whole process. Still a bit too, or at least not all that keen to stick her head in there. So instead, this time, she's adopted the even more comfortable position of lying on top of the buffalo's front legs. And actually, since we're here and we don't often get to look at the bottom of buffalo's hooves, something nice for people to do is, whenever you look at an animal track, to try and picture what the animal's hoof looks like when you see it. So have a look there, the back track. You can kind of see the overlap between the two toes that make up the hoof. And you can see one is slightly in front of the other, and that actually shows up in the track itself. There you go, there's that slight overlap that we get in between the groove. And if we scan a little way further to the left now, to the front feet that our lioness is lying on, we have a look there. A little bit. There we go. If we have a look at the bottom, or the underside of the buffalo's hoof, we've actually got a really nice idea of what sort of shape a hoof like that would leave in the sand. And it's a really nice way of learning the different tracks, because once you've looked at the bottom of a buffalo's hoof like that, you won't ever forget what their track will look like. And since our lionesses are going to be here for a while, let's go and find out how things are going at the Arathusa International Airport.
Well, those Impala were just thinking about having a bit of a fight to warm up, I think, everybody. Look at them sizing each other up. They keep semi-making that roaring noise. We didn't find anything else around where those kudu were, so we're just sort of doing a wider circle. And while we were doing that, well, look what's going on here. What we call argy-bargy. Much more argy than bargy at the moment, though. I think one of them is a little bit scared, to be honest. And the only reason he's turning round. See how they're making sort of half-hearted roaring noise. And I've got to tell you, the speed at which they're reacting, even though this looks like a pretty innocuous interaction, notice how as soon as one looks like it's going to move its head, the other one does the same thing. They're watching each other and sizing each other up constantly. And even now, as he looks at us over his left shoulder, he's watching that other chap. And now they'll just wait and see. And you can see them doing that semi-roaring... Oh, there we go. It's trying to catch each other off guard. It's a very odd time for them to be fighting, and I suspect that they've been put on edge by this wind that's blowing through the place. You can see it blasting the trees from side to side. And that, I think, is it. Right, on the other end of the airstrip, of course, we've got a whole herd of impala which are waiting to get out of here. And as you can see, I don't think they're all going to fit on the plane, and so some of them are going to be very disappointed. It's only a sort of 16-seater at maximum. Not even that. Hello, Katie in South Bend, Indiana. I'm going to assume that you perhaps know Lucy in South Bend, Indiana. You want to know if the drought has affected the tourism of the area at all? Have any of the lodges had to close because of it yet? No, not yet. It could happen, but at the moment the drought's actually a bit of a boon because the game viewing is so very good at the moment. But yes, it could absolutely happen that things could become so dry that the wells that feed the water, feed the lodges, the boreholes will dry up. See that herd of impala there now moving off into the woodland, a huge herd of females and their little ones. And they've just been walking around the wheels and wings of that Pilatus plane. That's what that is, I think. And as Viam says, it ain't going nowhere in this wind. Sorry, chaps, obviously their flight's been delayed, so they're heading off into the woodland again. I'm going to continue down this road now. It's the same road that we were on, and it leads out of Arathusa, but I'm just wondering if whatever that kudu was looking at might not be coming along here. We'll go and have a look-see. We really, like I was saying last time, we've had a remarkable time given the weather. And Jen from Belito, nice to have somebody from South Africa watching us and talking to us. Sorry, go again with that, Kirsten. All I'm getting is Lynn. Ian. Hello, Ian from, not Jen, Ian from Belito. You are interested in warthogs, and you say you've heard that they're the ones that suffer the most from the drought. Well, they're the first to suffer, Ian, because they are water dependent, and they are obviously not built to migrate. They've got very short little leggies, and so they can't go migrating to huge distances to water. So around the water holes, if there's sufficient forage for them, then they'll be fine. But yeah, once the forage drops below a certain quality and once the water dries out, they can get into very bad trouble indeed. Look, and you read about this, that's what you read. But during the height of the dry season last year, it wasn't the warthogs that really suffered. They hung around the water holes. They seemed to be okay. Some of them got a bit skinny. One of them got very skinny and died, but I think she was sick. The rest of them did okay. It was actually the impala and the wildebeest and the buffalo, to me, that seemed to suffer the most. So it seemed to be the grazing, the exclusive grazers and mixed feeders that really seemed to suffer the most during the last part of the drought. Now, whether that will continue or not, I don't know. But as I say, because we're now going into the Well, we're into the business end of the dry season, and it's at the end of a very poor rainy season, so it's now that the animals are going to start to sort of show signs of distress, I think. We had that little bit of rain and that little sprout of growth that seemed to provide a bit of impetus and give everything health. Now that's gone. And Cindy, you're in Florida wondering about the forage that's falling off the trees, and is it any good? Well, we tried some the other day. It tastes profoundly different from the forage that is on the trees, so the leaves that are on the trees. And I suppose it's got some nutritional value. I suspect it's largely roughage value. I don't know that there's too much actual nutrition in the fallen dead leaves, but some animals will be able to eat them, and certainly, you know, all of the termites will eat them. And the invertebrate life that tries to survive through the winter, they will most certainly eat the leaves that have fallen out of the trees. It's a nice question, Cindy. Well, we're back into the area where those kudus were shouting. But I see no predators. And as Wiem was saying, it could well have been just a hyena walking through the area. It was just so very close to where Shadow was. Anyway. We'll go and do one more drive past where Shadow went into the block there, and then we'll go back to Djuma and see what we can find there. Nothing on the radio here going on at Arathusa. I think you have, area-wise, for this area, we've had, between Jamie and I, the best possible result, with Karula and cubs, and in fact, as Wiem was saying, we've had the entire Karula lineage today. Karula and her daughters and her other daughters and her sisters, which are also her daughters, which is slightly disconcerting, of course. Now we'll just turn onto this main road. We did see a car coming past here. There'll be one reverse down here. James Bear, please do not worry. You say you're beginning to worry about the state of the trees and when are the animals going to start debarking them given the lack of leaves. Well, they've started already. There's absolutely no doubt that they have started debarking the trees already, the elephants, James, and that's normal. That will happen. And we were talking about the destructive nature of animals earlier on and saying that it's entirely normal for them to push trees over and debark them and kill them, and that's just how it happens. And it's not a problem, because that's how this ecosystem has evolved. So yes, to our naked eye, it might look a little destructive and unpleasant. It's completely normal. So James, I don't think you should be worrying about the trees. It's getting dark suddenly, isn't it, Liam? Yes. There's a very big cloud coming in from the west now. I don't know why it's coming in from the west, and the wind is blowing the other way. Anyway, I think we're going to pack up this search now. We saw her once. Alright, we're going to have one more pass through this area. While we do that, let's go back to the lions with Jamil.
Well, we've discovered the reason for the second female's reticence in terms of feeding. And that is, you don't want to come between a pregnant lioness and her food very clearly, because every time this poor lioness tries to feed, she gets growled at and at one point swatted by the pregnant lioness. So what she's tried is a different tactic. She's basically, from where she was lying on the buffalo's hooves, she has, I don't know how to describe it, it's sidling. Those of you who have dogs that are not allowed on the bed, but they want to anyway, where they try to do that really subtle, slow climb, like if they do it really slowly, you're not going to notice them. That's exactly what she's done in trying to get her head into the buffalo's stomach cavity. She's snuck closer inch by inch by inch, and she's finally managed to find herself a position. It's not the best one. She kind of got the raw end of the deal here. Although I suppose, in this case, all of the ends of the deal are raw. But, oh dear. No, it's this wind. It's gone to my brain, Dave. But she doesn't really have much to feed on there. She's got the stomach cavity and the chest cavity. There's not all that much left. She's making the most of what she has. I think she's decided that risking a fight with a hormonal and very large lioness is maybe not the way forward. Her behavior I don't know. I'm guessing. But I think it might be the younger lioness, the one that has only recently not earned, but reached the stage at which I think we can start calling her an adult lioness rather than the sub-adult. That the younger female of the Nkuhuma pride. I think it might be her. Her spots are quite the spots that all lions have, of course, around their legs and around their bellies. Spots are still quite prominent, in my opinion. I think it might be the young lioness. She's got so big now, it's getting really difficult to tell the difference between the two. Shame, you can see she's really struggling to get the meager pieces of meat out from the back end of the buffalo there. What's interesting about the situation is, oh, head gone, head in buffalo. So the last drive I did with Dave was with 2 Nkuhuma lionesses. We followed them to a buffalo kill that had been stolen by hyenas. It was the most extraordinary sighting, because we had the lionesses running away, they were outnumbered by the hyenas, and they had to abandon their kill, but with great annoyance, as you can imagine. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Just making sure you know your place, young lion. And the interesting thing is, this is one of the hyenas clan, or the hyena clan of Djumas. This is one of their favourite stomping grounds. We're on close to the western boundary of Djuma. Now we don't know, we know where the new hyena mother is with her 2 new cubs. We don't know where the rest of the clan have decided to move to. My suspicion, judging by the tracks all over the show here, is they're not too far away. And as night starts to fall, it could turn into a very interesting scene, as these 2 lionesses might end up having to defend their kill. Now, if they're joined by a male, or some of the other females, then it'll become something of a moot point. They'll have the numbers and the strength to ward off any number of hyenas. And almost invariably, a hyena clan will not pick a fight with a pride that has a male in attendance or a couple of males in attendance, unless they are really, really desperate. It's not worth the hassle of riling up a big male lion of 400 odd, more than 400 odd pounds. Oh, this wind is getting worse. I've sort of discovered that if I duck right down into the cavity of the car, I can watch what the lionesses are doing on the monitor and at the same time shelter from the wind with my hood up. Poor old Dave, of course, doesn't have that luxury. Dave doesn't have a choice. Dave has to sit at the top there and be exposed. Dave's wearing a balaclava. And Lucy in South Bend, Indiana. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari. Apparently James asked you to ask me to describe how much the leaves have changed since I went on leave. And the answer is it's absolutely incredible. I think it was one of the first things I noticed when I got back here was how all of the bush willows, like the one that we are currently sitting not quite underneath, but almost underneath, of how much the bush willows have changed a colour. And they really truly have. They've gone from a sort of yellow-green, as this one is, to almost all of them being completely orange and brown and dropping their leaves all over the show. Now the change in... When did I go on leave? It was... I've already lost track of it now. Last week, just 10 days ago, more than 10 days ago, or about 10 days ago. The change in 10 days is absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing how fast things change out here. Sorry, I just heard a low rumble off from my right. Let us see what is happening here. Pregnant lady is up once again. That growl that I don't think you'll be able to hear it now above the wind, but it's this sort of low vibrating sound. And it's the same growl that they often give as a warning if you accidentally walk too close to them, if you happen to bump into them by mistake. It's that deep rumbling sound, and it's a truly awe-inspiring thing. And Lionesses, who is a new viewer, has commented that this lady, presumably me, definitely not Dave, that this lady is sitting watching lions feast on a corpse just a few feet away from her. What's the amazing thing about where we are? So we're on a reserve called Djuma. We operate on Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains. It all falls under the Sabi Sand area in the Great Kruger National Park. So we're right up in the northeast corner of South Africa. And what's really cool about it, what's really unique about it, is that it is completely live. Now, South Africa is probably one of the best destinations in terms of wildlife viewing, just because our animals are so relaxed in our company. As you see. It was great timing, wasn't it? Isn't that such a cool moment? When they walk right past you, is the second one going to come and do that to me too? Oh, it's elephants, that's why. There's an elephant. Where's the lion gone, Dave? Oh, cool. So she's decided to seek refuge behind us. I'm very grateful for that. Especially with several tons of elephant walking through. They're coming, they're going to come out onto the road here. I thought I heard an elephant. She definitely heard an elephant. She heard it before I did. There we go. And that's why our big pregnant lioness moves off. She knows that she doesn't quite have the agility that she used to in her non-pregnant state, and she doesn't want to tangle with a mother elephant and her herd. I'm relatively certain the elephants that just walked past us were the herd of the snared trunk female, that female that we've got to know over recent times. So I never finished talking about how comfortable the animals are, but I didn't need to, because a lion just walked right past the car. Now our other lioness has taken advantage of the pregnant female's rapid departure and has claimed her chance to feast off the best part of the buffalo. That was awesome. Such a perfect demonstration of how wonderful the animals of the Sabi Sands are. That being said, they're wild animals. They are 100% wild. I would absolutely not get out of the vehicle now. I absolutely would not underestimate them. And it's a constant reminder of just how powerful these creatures really are. And they're treated with absolute respect. I would never have driven that close to her. She was comfortable because she chose to come up to me and past me. I must say, she took me somewhat by surprise there. I didn't actually see her get up. But isn't that incredible? One of those joys of the live safaris is that because they're wild and because it's live, you never know what direction things are going to take you in. And I think it's time, the time has come, earlier than normal because it's so cloudy, to add a little bit, throw a little bit of light into this situation. It's a pleasure, Dave. Oh, hold on. There's an eagle being mobbed by lapwings. Goodness, it's all happening here. This is the place to be. Well done, Dave. It was a big eagle. It was a tawny eagle. And the lapwings did not take kindly to its presence. Amazingly brave little birds. Oh, this is definitely the place to be on Djuma today. Elephants, eagles, lapwings, lions. One slightly, well, half a buffalo. I think she's quite happy that the other lioness moved. She definitely doesn't have the same full belly, so she's not been afforded the same opportunity to eat as much as she wanted to. Now, is this the young lioness? I think it might be. So while I puzzle over that, I'm relatively certain that it is. And we wait for our pregnant lioness to get brave enough to rejoin us. Let's go back over to James for an update.
I'm sorry, everybody. My cameraman seems to be asleep today. We've seen 2 duiker now, and all that.
The light to the left.
No, the light was there. I can't shine the light on the duck. It's very desperate working with this man tonight. Well, Jamie has had all the luck today. Well, not all of it, but a substantial proportion, and I think that's marvellous. It's been a really good afternoon. We gave up, I'm afraid, on where we heard those alarm calls. We'll go back there in the morning and see if we can't pick up perhaps Shadow and her little cub sharing a kill there. It'd be so nice to see them. Anyway, for the moment, what we're going to do now, well, I was going to go to the hyena den, but it's got a bit dark. What we're going to do is head down towards the Djuma Dam pan, so keep your eyes on the camera there, and see if that lion from today has not popped out. I'm amazed that he didn't hear that buffalo being murdered earlier on. I don't know how much of the buffalo's left, but I suspect that those lionesses killed it sometime during the day, because I think none of us actually drove up there this afternoon, so I don't know how old the buffalo kill is. Maybe Kirsten can give me some kind of indication. No, she can't. Well, so we'll just guess that it was killed out of earshot of that big lion, because he definitely would have gone in there. Male lions, of course, the greatest scavengers of the bush. Okay, we're going to ease our way sort of down through this way onto quarantine and see if that male hasn't come out. And the wind continues to howl from the southwest. That's basically down there, everybody. That's the southwest there. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, but it looks quite misty, and I don't actually think that's mist. If you might zoom in, if I might trouble you. Thank you so much. I don't mean to inconvenience you. That looks like mist. I don't think it is. I actually think it's dust brought up by the wind. So, although it looks like there might be moisture in the air, I don't think that's what that is. Right, come on, Vim, we have to find something of worth. Otherwise, Jamie's going to get home and, well, she's the last person to be smug, but I'll just feel awful, you know. She's done it all. Perhaps a snake lurking on the branches somewhere would be nice. I'm also hoping that Karula and her youngsters will be still there in the morning. And we'll pop around there and have a look. Oops. Hello, Zoe. You're a new viewer, and it's lovely to have you with us. And if you do ask us a question, everybody, please do tell us if you are a new viewer, because it's always nice to know when we have new people watching with us. Zoe, you want to know if there are any animals that I'm afraid of? Zoe, there are a number of animals that I'm certainly wary of. Afraid, I think, is a dangerous thing to be out here. Wary is a good thing to be out here. You don't want to be afraid because it tends to, I think it does impair your judgment slightly. I'm wary of elephants all the time. I'm wary of buffalo, especially if I'm on foot. I'm wary of the big cats. You know, it wasn't too long ago that Karula was charging vehicles. She was very upset with us. So I'm wary of just about everything. I'm wary of snakes. I suppose if there's one thing I'm afraid of out here, it would be getting malaria. And so mosquitoes make me afraid. And I would certainly be afraid if I came across a hippopotamus on foot and I happened to be between it and the water, then I would be immediately afraid. But no, you know, I've got used to living out here, and so I don't think I'm afraid of anything necessarily. There's certainly situations that can make me afraid, but I'm not overtly afraid of anything, but I'm definitely wary of all the animals out here. And I think that's a relatively good position to be in. You don't want to be terrified, but you must always be wary. Never be complacent. And it's always good to remind ourselves of that. And no matter how hard we do, obviously, so often, you know, I don't know, like that elephant sighting today. It's very easy to be complacent around the elephants of the Sabi Sands because they can be extremely confiding, and they can, you know, they often don't worry at all about us. But sometimes, if you read their behavior wrong and you are complacent, well, you can get yourself into trouble. And so we're very careful about that sort of thing. Nice question, Zoe. But remember, I mean, the other nice, interesting thing about that question is that what happens is that the danger of this area is built up. It's built up by stories. I've sat around many a fire with game rangers of this area telling stories of their bravery and the danger that they've subjected themselves to, or the danger that they were in. 9 times out of 10, those are all obviously blown out of proportion, and I've told those stories myself. And also, when there are serious danger, or when there has been serious danger, it's normally been the result of the guide or the ranger sort of doing a silly thing that he shouldn't have been doing. We're also very good at as guides, especially in our younger days before we've matured. We're very good at telling people how, or giving the impression that what we do is a dangerous thing. So I remember meeting my guests for the first time, and I had with me this great big hunting rifle. You know, it was an enormous thing, 375 caliber Holland & Holland bolt action Brno, terrifying looking thing. You meet your guest, you've got your rifle, you've got your Land Rover, and people think, good grief, this guy's he's a brave, well-trained fellow. Well, we were quite well-trained, I suppose, but I'm not sure how brave we were. I mean, we were in a car, and the dangers of it are not quite as big as you might think. And I always love the stories of these guys who carry these big knives in their belts. Men who, they carry sort of huge knives in their belts as if to give the impression that at any stage something might leap out of the bush and they'll have to have at that thing with this enormous Excalibur length sword pinned to their waists. And of course, 9 times out of 10, it's just for show. It goes along with the rifle and the khaki clothes. And the used to be, thankfully this tradition has changed, but the very short, tight khaki shorts, which I never had the legs for. So Zoe, that's the story of the danger out here. I think it's far less dangerous living where I live than it is living in a city, for example. And HK, you want to know how we stay safe from getting malaria. This is not a high-risk malaria area, HK, but what we do is we spray. You put spray on your skin if you want to, if you're a bit worried about that. We spray our rooms out every so often with an anti-mosquito repellent. Viam sleeps under a mosquito net. You do, don't you, Viam?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to do in the summertime. Do you do it in winter, Viam?
Yeah, it depends how many mosquitoes are there.
Okay, so it depends how many mosquitoes are in his room as to whether he'll sleep under the net during the night time or not, at least during the winter time or not. Otherwise, you can't really take prophylactics. You can get homeopathic prophylactics that are seemingly very effective, but the best thing to do is to just put a bit of stuff on your skin, and you can take prophylactics if you come here on a visit. But we, living out here, can't take them on a full-time basis, otherwise we'd get very sick. Our livers wouldn't be able to cope with them. So that's how we deal with malaria, HK. I like to think, on the subject of danger, because it's a bit of a bugbear of mine, I like to think that we are evolving as an industry, and by that I mean the guiding industry, into far more naturalist guides who appreciate all parts of nature and appreciate animals' behavior. Who was a bit of a yahoo in the bush, who didn't know a huge amount about the place and took chances and sort of provoked animals to charging and, wore great big knives on their belts and that sort of thing to show how big and strong they were. I like to think we've evolved from that. I don't know. All right, let's go back to the lions with Jamie. Very dangerous.
Oh, well, that was well timed, because apparently James was just about to disappear off your screens regardless. We're still with our lioness, who is making short work of her buffalo and grabbing the opportunity, whilst the other lioness has moved off. Our pregnant lioness got up and... Oh, hold on. This could get interesting. Dave, we're going to swing round. Hello. I wondered when you would show up. Alright, now this is interesting. One hyena is not enough to chase a lioness off a carcass. That's where the second lioness went as well. I don't know where she disappeared off to. She moved. There's more elephants rumbling in the bushes. And now this could be interesting. I don't think a solitary hyena is going to be brave enough to chase away a lioness, but you never know. And it might be more than one. I'm going to keep an eye on what's happening further up the road. And what that hyena's going to do now, he's going to circle far enough away that the lioness isn't too bothered by him, but he's basically going to be, he or she, it, is going to be scoping out how many lions there are and whether or not it's worth calling the rest of the clan to come and join him. She's shifted around slightly. I don't think she realized that there's a hyena wandering through. She's going to soon though, although it's so windy that she might not. I wonder where that second lioness went. I don't think she would have gone far. I think she just moved to find a more comfortable position. Oh! She's just chased it away. Can't see it. Hold on. Okay. This could get interesting. I just heard the growl, and then a hyena yip in fright. I don't think it realized that the lioness was there. Neither did I, to be 100% honest with you. Didn't know exactly where she'd gone. Let's just go back and see if we can see what's happening. I think the hyena's probably long gone. Just heard a brrr and a yip. Okay. Now we're a bit further into the block. I'm going to stay with our view for now because all of the action is going to, if there is action, is going to center around the carcass. Okay. Back to our position in the bush willow. How's that there, Dave? Cool. Perfect. Okay. Alright, let's see how this scenario plays out. What's probably going to happen during the course of the evening is that hyena is going to contact call and bring in reinforcements. And unless a male lion turns up, or the rest of the females, there's a very good chance that our Nkuhuma ladies could lose their kill to the hyena clan of Djuma. We just have to wait and see how this plays out. Lioness not going to be deterred. It is the young lioness, by the way. It's the female that we used to call the sub-adult female, who is now a fully grown adult female, but she's just that little bit smaller than the rest of the pride. Hear her crunching away. The usual sounds of our lions at night. I just want to get hold of Taxon on the Game Drive channel and just let him know that he should come through now, because there could be some interesting things happening. Tax, are you still coming to the Singala sighting? Okay guys, while I just have a quick discussion on the Game Drive channel, let's head back over to James.
Now we are knocking about here on Ingwe Alley, which means Leopard Road, or Leopard Alley. We know that Karula is not here, but I'm hoping that lion was coming this way. He was sort of heading this way earlier when we left him this morning. So maybe he'll pitch up here. Ah, James Bear, that's very, very well observed by you. You say, why does the antenna look like a porcupine quill? Well, Viam very cleverly disguised it. And I mean, look, he didn't disguise it, but he made it much less obvious than it used to be. That when it was sort of chrome colored, it got in the way of every shot. And now if you zoom in far enough past the antenna, you hardly notice it in the shot. So that's why. It just tried to sort of lessen the effect of the shiny metal. And one day we'll have it sorted out that the aerial actually sits on the back of the vehicle. But at the moment what happens is if you put the aerial on the back, the broadcast signal interferes with the actual radio signal and it becomes impossible to hear what Kirsten Max Smith is saying. And good grief, you don't want to incur her wrath. If she thinks you're not listening to her, you get into a lot of trouble. There's an effluent. They're just going to go past you, my friend. We're not going to disturb you. You turn off these lights. It's just over there. A young bull. He's much more afraid of us. I was just thinking, before we linked back to Jamie, of course, we're not supposed to be seeing that elephant, so that's why we didn't shine on him. Just because it's not nice to shine on elephants. They get very upset with the light. I was just thinking, we were talking about danger earlier with Zoe, and of course I was talking about the new kind of guide. And as I said that, I thought to myself as I linked to Jamie, that is precisely the kind of guide that we are trying to cultivate. In the industry, she's the kind of new generation, if you like. Nerves of steel, but no need to show them, if you know what I mean. No need to demonstrate any kind of macho behavior. And she's the kind of guide I think that most new guides could look up to and take their cue from, especially men. They could learn a lot from Jamie Patterson. I know I have. Ruth, I love this question. You say, how important is it to wear khaki or olive drab on safari? Ruth, it's largely a fashion statement, to be honest. It's good not to wear too brighter clothes. Animals are largely colorblind, but if you wear something reflective, like if I wear a bright red jacket that's got shiny material, it will reflect light more, and that will get animals' attention. But if it's kind of a matte red or a matte yellow, and it doesn't reflect light more than anything else, then I don't think it makes a difference. We wear khaki because it looks good. I wear grey. I wear this grey. I chose this grey specifically because I think grey, if you want to be camouflaged out here, I mean, not that it's that necessary that I'm camouflaged driving a great big vehicle that makes a huge noise, but if you want to be camouflaged, I think grey is a very good colour to be. The elephants are grey, and they disappear into the bush very nicely. If you are walking, yes, you don't want to be too obvious. So, like a bottle green, olive, grey, a sort of matte blue, if you like, not navy, but maybe a slightly brighter than navy colour. That's a good colour to be. So often khaki fades to a palish brown, which actually is like a beacon out here. You can see people wearing khaki, like VM's got a shirt that he likes to wear that it looks very good, it looks wonderful, but if you see him, you'll see him walking through the bush, it's like he's got a light shining on him. And that is the case with a lot of the kind of fashionable khaki stuff that you can buy these days. And you see, I mean, I used to find it profoundly amusing when you'd come down, you'd meet people out of an aeroplane, and the whole family would get out of the aeroplane, and they'd all be in matching khaki safari gear. But it would be this pale colour that sort of shone in the African sunshine. And, well, it matched the uniforms that we used to wear, which was large, almost purely for show, because you can't have a ranger dressed in drab grey. It don't look so good. All right, we're going to just peep down here at the Djuma Dam cam, and while we do that, let's go back to the lions. What?
While James makes his way across to the Djuma Dam pan, we actually may well have to leave our lioness relatively soon. That's just because there's other vehicles that want to make an approach, and since we've spent a sizable period of time with them, it's time for us to let others have a chance. Let me just... I'll make your approach. Okay, just telling Aubrey that he can come and join us. And I know that Texan is not far behind him. And what we will do is as soon as Tex is close, we will pull out and let him enjoy the sighting. Now for new viewers, the reason that we can shine the light on the lions, and this is also to answer Molly's question, the reason why we can shine the lights on the lions without them being bothered is because as nocturnal animals, the light doesn't in any way hamper their ability to see in the dark. They have a very, very reflective membrane at the back of their retina called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces back the light and basically is capable of dealing with light in all kinds of conditions. That's why we shine on nocturnal animals like lions and leopards, but we won't shine spotlights on diurnal animals, like, for example, buffalo. There's the lioness. She is... I don't think there's any way you'll be able to see her, but I think that this spotlight, the guys have found her at the back. She's behind the squarry bush, which is unfortunately the thickest tree that we have. So Molly, that's why the lions aren't bothered by the light. They've also, throughout their lives, got used to safari vehicles shining lights on them. That being said, it's very important to spotlight ethically. First of all, you don't need to shine it right in the animal's face. Next to them is just fine. You can sort of bounce back the light. And you also need to be very, very careful when they are hunting. Because you can imagine if you are a nocturnal animal, you're trying to creep up on a diurnal animal like an impala or a buffalo, and all of a sudden there's this incredibly bright light illuminating you. You can imagine how that will negatively affect their hunting. And the other vehicles on their way to finding the other lioness. Nearly there, nearly there. Oh, nearly there. Obviously she's decided to take a little bit of a break at the back behind. I think that hapless hyena in the wind could smell that there was a kill somewhere near, but obviously didn't realize just how close he came to having a brush with death, so to speak. Because the lioness, if she had been bothered, if she hadn't been so pregnant, if she'd been a bit faster and a bit more agile, she probably could well have killed that hyena. Most of the time, however, the conflicts between our big predators, our top 5 predators, actually end with the parties going off in opposite directions, and sometimes even watching each other from a comfortable distance. Nothing out here wants to risk injury, because it means the difference between life and death. Unfortunately, I don't think I can reposition in any way to get us a better view. I was going to find out where Tax is. I'm sure he's not coming up behind us. He did say he was coming from Impala Plains. I'm sure it's fine. I'll hear him when he comes through. What an extraordinary Saturday this has been. Lions and leopards all over the show. You really are quite thoroughly spoilt. Oh, let's get some nice... It's a pity she has hidden the carcass behind the guarri bush now. I was about to say let's get some side lighting, but maybe not. Perhaps not. We've got a view here of sorts. Well, hopefully these females manage to defend the carcass throughout the evening from other hyena, and they will be here with us tomorrow morning on the sunrise safari. There's plenty of meat left, and they should still be around. It just depends on whether or not they manage to defend it. We might even find upon our return tomorrow morning, that they have been joined by some of the missing number of their pride. Alright guys, it is time for us to leave. There are other vehicles making an approach. Ooh. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out and let them have a turn. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite make it to the end of the sunset safari, but we've got plenty of opportunities to see them once again. So we come across to the end of our sunset safari. It's been an incredible day, and I'm so glad we got to share it with all of you. Thanks, Dave, for your fantastic camera work, and thank you to the lovely ladies in Final Control. Thank you to you all for joining us, for your questions and your comments and your company. Have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers.
There's a gerbil in there, everybody, a little bushveld gerbil. And I don't know where it is now. Can you see it moving, Liam? It's right in the middle of the screen, apparently. Really? Kirsten says she can see it. There it is. There it is. There he is. Can you see him there, everybody? Sort of bottom left quadrant, moving around. Let me try and move slightly back, because he's quite a sweet little fellow. He's a chestnut-coloured little gerbil. And Liam spotted. If we get a good sighting of this, of course, it'll make up for everything we didn't find, don't you think, Liam? Because everybody was desperate to see a gerbil. I'm afraid I don't see it there. No, let's carry on. Anyway, bushveld gerbil, everybody. Highlight of the day. Not quite. Karula's babies may have been the highlight of the day. Again. Anyway, we're just easing our way around. I keep saying easing. I'm going to stop saying it as of now. We're making our way around to the Gallagher waterhole. See if that lion didn't pop out there. He didn't pop out anywhere else where we could have. Just 2 minutes. I hope we do it. Aren't you desperate to find him, Liam? Is that a snake or a branch? Sorry about that, everybody. It's just that little dip there. Come around the corner. There must be a lion here somewhere. Is he? I'd be amazed if he doesn't find those lionesses on their buffalo tonight. And I'm sure they'll have to share it with him, because he's bigger than them, you see. Around the corner. 1 minute to find the lion. He's not at the waterhole. Beastly fellow. Let's continue around here. I think he's gone south, you know. I think he's gone in the opposite direction. Probably towards Cheetah, to where those Styx lionesses are with their little cubbies. hopefully we'll see them a bit more as well. Oh well, no lion for us tonight. We'll just have a brief listen here. The last of the wind blowing. Oh dear, I pulled out. Oh, we got 20 seconds. Phew, I wondered what had happened to Kirsten. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful afternoon. You bore with us, and it bore fruit, I would say. We saw a few things. Jamie saw some incredible things. We will see you tomorrow at 06:30. Until then, stay happy wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.